wrtiersports.com.
All right, welcome to our latest Hoopcast. Pat, Dooley, and Kevin Brockway from the Gainesville Sun. We're going to look back at the loss for Florida in Knoxville and ahead to the Alabama game, and as well as the game with Mississippi State, since it's another Thursday, Saturday, Kevin. Unfortunately, snow kept me from getting there. Somehow your flight was not canceled, but mine was.
Yeah, very icy there and rainy. But, hey, it didn't affect the attendance at Thompson Bowling. That place was full. They were excited. And, for Florida, a very good first half. They got off to a 10-point lead. Looked like they could kind of break that hex in Thompson Bowling Arena. They lost 4 in a row there. But in the final minutes and then the second half, Tennessee really asserted itself on the boards. They tightened up on defense, really frustrated Irving Walker, and they escaped with a 61-60 victory. Yeah,
and obviously they got a shot to win it. Alex Tyus probably rushed it a little bit, and Chandler Parsons, it looked like was going to do it again. But when you play enough basketball, close basketball games, sometimes you're going to make the last second shot, sometimes you're going to miss it, and it was a tough loss for Florida. And that's the thing, Kevin. They're still sitting here needing that signature conference win to add to their resume. Right now, they don't have it. They've got a bunch of wins against mediocre to bad teams, but 5 of their 9 games in February are against NCAA tournament teams, so the opportunities are going to be there anyway.
Yeah, and you get Tennessee at the O'Connell Center. You're going to get Xavier, a non-conference game that's important at the O'Connell Center later in the month, and then you have Vanderbilt in early March, the first week of March. So I think those are going to be 3 big games. Mississippi State at home too. You've got a lot of games at home too. So I think if they can kind of hold serve at home and win a few of those games, they might have a chance. So I guess, the optimists can say there's growth because the previous 2 years at Thompson Bowling Arena, they were blown out. This game, they were in the game. They were competitive. They were right there at the end and just couldn't get over the hump. But really, you look back at it, Tennessee did let him hang around with the free throw shooting, but Chandler Parsons also missed 3 big free throws in the final minutes as well.
As he's wont to do.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to just kind of shake that off. The hard thing for Florida now is they got to go on the road, go to Tuscaloosa, which will probably be a well-attended game, although I saw one of their games. It was unbelievable how few people were there. But, hey, everybody comes out to root against the Gators, so it'll probably be a pretty big crowd. And this Alabama team, you look at the parts seem to be better than the sum. I mean, I look at guys like Torrance and some of the other players on that team, and you would think they'd be better than they are. Yeah,
they have tremendous athletes. JaMychal Green is a great athletic guy. As you mentioned before, Torrance. Brock is a speedy guy. Yeah. He's not a bad shooter. But, I think first year under a new coach, sometimes it takes a while. And, Anthony Grant, obviously former Florida assistant, is trying to install kind of a similar Florida style. They press a little bit. They're very effective when they press, and they're trying to get up and down the floor. But sometimes when you have that system and changing coaches, it takes a little time.
Yeah, and they obviously, especially with Irving Walker, I thought played his worst game of the year on Saturday. They're going to press him, especially a small guy like that. It'll be interesting to see how Florida handles it. And it's funny now, Billy versus a former coach is just not that big a deal anymore. Yeah. There's just so many of them out there, and the tree continues to grow. And we'll see how Florida can handle it. They need to get this win. We've been saying that all year, and then go on to play Mississippi State, which is got a higher RPI, can help their RPI. That's the one good thing. Their RPI is not going to be hurt by anybody they play. Even the Georgias and South Carolinas of the world aren't going to hurt them. But like you said, getting that win against a Mississippi State team at home would be huge for where they are with their resume right now.
Yeah, and like I said, I definitely think that there are chances up ahead as well. But, I think it'll be a little interesting, Billy versus Anthony, because it'll be the first time. And, Donnie Jones is having a nice season at Marshall, too. Yeah. He's doing very well. And, I think it makes you wonder, we've talked a lot about recruiting. Those guys seem to have an eye for guys, especially, Anthony Grant bringing in guys like Corey Brewer, Udonis Haslam, under the radar guys. And I think that's probably impacted Billy's recruiting a little bit more than we'll ever know.
Yeah, there's no question about it. It's going to be interesting. But, it's going to be hard for Florida to get to the NCAA tournament, but we were talking about this earlier. It's supposed to be hard. Yeah. It's not supposed to be easy unless you're Houston Baptist, which has the lowest RPI in the country, but is a half game out of the lead in their conference. They could end up being in the tournament with like an 8-29 record. But that's the way it is. It's supposed to be hard if you're Florida. And you got to be good. You got to step up. You got to make the plays. You got to, I kind of look at that game Saturday and the NC State game were a wash. Yeah. Okay, you shouldn't have won that game against NC State. That was a fluke. Probably should have won this one. But now let's see how you do. February. It's all about February.
Yeah, and I think what you're going to have to see is certainly And I think you saw a little bit of it in the Tennessee game was the two upperclassmen, Alex Tyus and Chandler Parsons, stepping up. They're going to have to be the guys that really come to the forefront. And you know, Alex is playing very consistent basketball right now, the missed shot notwithstanding. And Chandler at the end of the game certainly stepped up and made some plays. And I think those are the two guys that are really going to have to, you know, and Dan Werner a little bit off the bench, you know, is going to have to do. Is going to have to do something, you know what I mean? Provide some kind of intangible leadership as well. But this is a time of the year where you really kind of look to your upperclassmen, and I think those are the guys that they're going to have to kind of sink or swim with.
You buy anything into the theory that maybe Irving and Kenny both have kind of hit a little bit of a wall here? I mean, Kenny playing his first year of college basketball, playing a lot of minutes. Irving having to handle the ball, playing a lot of minutes. Maybe that has something to do with the way they – because neither one really played well against Tennessee.
Yeah, and, you know, with Kenny's situation, I think it's interesting, too, is because of the fact that, you know, Rod Tishman, you know, for lack of a better word, turned out to be a bust. You're asking Kenny to play a lot of minutes as point guard as well. I mean, he's their backup point guard. So you're asking Kenny, you know, you're putting a lot on his plate, as well as being a shooting guard, being a backup point guard, which I think he's handled that role pretty well, actually. He hasn't been – you know, he's been a much better point guard than even I anticipated. Right. But when you ask him to do that much, you know, maybe that – but, you know, he's been kind of a streaky shooter all year, and he's been more bad than good. He's got some mechanical issues and flaws in his shot that I think need to be addressed in the offseason.
Brings it over here kind of like old Eddie Johnson used to.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Of course, Eddie Johnson made most of his. So we'll see how the Gators do this week against Alabama and Mississippi State, and then we'll come back next week. We'll give you a kind of a wrap-up of those two games and look ahead to the rest of the season. It's crunch time for the Gators. Until next time, Pat Dooley and Kevin Brockway, the Gainesville Sun, saying so long from the Sunshine State.